Well, it was back in 1983. We were on our way to Cape York, and my first trip up there, we were camped in an isolated area, and it was a moonlit night. I actually had a dog with me that evening just before, with the campfire, whatever, and I decided to take the dog for a walk, and we were down in a dry gully, and she was running up and down the gully with her nose to the ground. She was on the track of something, and I thought, what in the heavens is she sniffing? You know, she's running along this track and back. And then I turned and I looked, this is just on sunset, and I looked up within about, 150 metres away. I spotted some animals under the tree, and because I'm in a farming area, I thought they might have been cattle. And I looked again, and this one particular one that was standing up turned and looked at me. And I thought, not cattle, it's got the head of a dog. So I think, what am I looking at? So I called my dog back to me, and we went back to the camp. And that night was a moonlit night. And anyway, I had dinner and whatever, and then went to bed and tied my dog under the four-wheel drive. And all of a sudden she started to growl. And I thought, what's she growling at? So anyway, I hopped out of bed and I put her on a short leash, and I grabbed a spotlight. I started to look around the camp towards this ravine area I've been walking the dog previously, and all of a sudden I have these sets of red eyes looking at me. And there's male, female obviously, and two pups. And I got within 20 metres, and there's no noise from them, no growling, nothing. Seems that they're just curious when they come in for a look. And as I said, within 20 minutes, I kept walking towards them. There's no aggression. And they turned and they walked back to this ravine and went down into the ravine. Now, these animals, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. And they're dog-shaped. I've got a shepherd with me, so I know what dogs are about. And in the spotlight, I can see that they're a tan in colour, and they have the stripes on their side.
Brian, you realise at this point some people are thinking Brian's probably had a beer or two too many, and people probably think you're a bit crazy for what you're suggesting here.
No beer. I had a friend with me, a young lady. I didn't have any beer on the whole trip, and I was up there for months. And and then went back, lit the fire, had another coffee, whatever, and went back to bed, and dogs started growling again. So we did the same thing again. They came into another area of the camp. So I went back out with the spotlight again, and there they are, the four of them again. And as I got closer, they just wandered off into the bush again. And I got back, and I'm thinking to myself, now what in the heavens have I seen? I've never seen anything like them before, ever. Kept doing me head in, and eventually when I got back, I went through all the books, and I thought, there's nothing else like them, but there's other things.
The thylacine. The last one died in captivity in Tasmania in the 30s.
That's right.
But there's been reports of a Queensland tiger, and there's been reports of a Queensland tiger-like creature from way back from the 1870s. These reports first started to show up in northeast Queensland. Do you believe what you saw might have been similar to what people have reported way back in the 1870s?
Because I had something beside me, I had a shepherd, and I could work out body size, shape, very thick in the tail, long sort of tail, quite well built, heavier built than the shepherd, and had very light hair, not long hair, light hair, and had the stripes. My God, what am I looking at?
Was it more like a cat or a dog?
No, it was more like a dog.
No barking?
No growling, no noise whatsoever, completely silent.
And how did they move? Did they move like a dog or move like a cat?
They moved more like a dog. Things like that, I don't think you don't forget. And I've never forgotten that.
And why would you? If you thought you saw what you saw, you thought you saw a thylacine, that would be etched in your memory. You're hearing from Brian Hobbs here. He is a Ravenshoe resident, long-time tourism operator. And back in 1983, Brian, he swears he saw something in the bush that really has never been seen there before. Or has it? Brian Hobbs shared his story with some others who, Brian, you say they actually saw something similar in roughly the same part of Cape York. Tell us about that?
About 15 years ago, a friend of mine died on the way down from Cape York, and he had a business up there, and his son was coming down from the funeral. He's driving through the night, and something crossed the road in his headlights. He'd never seen anything like it before, and this young lad was actually born in the Daintree, so he's been in the bush all his life with his parents. And he didn't know what it was, and he mentioned it to his mother after the funeral when they got home back up to Bamaga. And his mother said to him, Jeffrey, what I want you to do, have a look in the books and see if you can find what you're seeing. And eventually he found a picture of something, and he took it to his mother, and he said, that's what I've seen. And his mother said, Jeffrey, you need to get in touch with Brian, because he'll tell you a story. He didn't know the story, that I shared it with his father, and he will tell you were in the same area, and you can tell him what you've seen. And it was in the same region that I was in, and there we go, we had another sighting.
Whereabouts, Brian? Are you willing to share that?
No, I wouldn't share it. The reason I wouldn't share it, because all these years being in tourism, of course, and I'm more into nature and preserving, if I actually put it out there, I'm always scared of cowboys going out there shooting things, trapping things, destroying things. So it's only if someone could get together, if they wanted to take a scientific group or team up there to do research, I'd then, by all means, I'd tell them exactly where the sightings were. Now, when I got back from that trip, I went to a friend of mine, and he'd spent quite a few years up as a croc shooter in the Cape. And I told him the story, and Jeffrey sat down with me, and he pulled out a map, and he had 4 sites on the map marked in red. And he said to me, Brian, this map, what you've just told me, he said, this map, he said, I made a number of years ago, and he said, these are possible sightings of what you've seen. And he said it's exactly in the same area.
How crazy do people think you are when you try and share this story with them?
Well, I haven't shared it very much because of that reason, because, you know, people are skeptics and they say, oh, no, you couldn't have seen it, you couldn't have seen this and you couldn't have seen that. So, you know, basically I'm 69, you know, I know that, you know, I'm not going to live forever, and if someone wants to try and, you know, go to the area and find out, I'll then release the information. I'll tell them with a map, I'll show them exactly where it was.
Brian Hobbs, how do you think a thylacine could actually, or a family of thylacines could be living there or have lived there right up until the 1980s and have gone undetected in so much as no one's ever trapped one, no one's ever taken a picture of one, no one has ever seen one in daylight? My
friend, the crocodile shooter, he actually gave it a name. He said, I've been up there shooting crocs for years, and he said, and I'd speak to other people, and he said, and speak to Aboriginal people as well, and he said they gave it the name Moonlight Tiger. He said, I think I came across one night while walking to a creek to get some water. He said, I seen something, but he said I couldn't identify it, just seen a shadow. And he said, because most people that have spotted them have only spotted them in the moonlit night, you know. So he came up with the thing, and they called him, he said to me, they call him a Moonlight Tiger.